Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode on My Line Purpose, the podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Crone. Today's episode is super special. I have Brandi Mowles here with me, and I love to share when I've met somebody previous to having them on the podcast and what that journey has been like. And I don't know, Brandi, if this is your recollection of how we met, but we were in New York in March at an event and it was lunchtime and I just went and sat at a random table where I didn't know anybody, sat down next to Brandi, and I overheard you chatting with somebody else about either Love is Blind or Love Island or something like that. And my ears perked up because I was like, she sounds like she's my kind of girl. So then I said hello and we instantly connected. You're so magnetic. I really love your energy and I can't wait for everybody to hear from you today. So welcome in. Why don't you tell us, where are you calling in from today and what are you grateful for?
Oh, such good questions. So I am coming from the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, so in the US. And then I am grateful, one, for our friendship. Like, I just love when you meet new people and you're just like instantly drawn to them. And that doesn't happen all the time for me. And so I am just so grateful to be here and to know you. And I know that probably sounds a little cheesy, but that is what I am grateful for in this moment.
Oh, likewise. Yeah. When we left New York, I was like, I really want to stay connected. Let's meet up and go on each other's podcasts or meet on Zoom and have a coffee. And so I know that life gets crazy and you've had a big move and I've moved and lots of stuff has been going on. So yeah, I'm really grateful that you've made the time today to sit down and chat. Can you tell us, for everybody who is listening, a little bit of a backstory? This is how I always love to open the podcast because everybody who knows me that listens knows that my journey is that I was a teacher, although I never felt like that's what I really wanted to do. I just did that because that's what society told me would be like the good thing to do. I knew right off the bat when I was in high school that I didn't want to go right into post-secondary. I wanted to travel, but I ignored my intuition. And so if we flash back to when, say, you were graduating high school, is the journey that you've been on one that you thought you would go on? And what's been a bit of your story?
So it's so funny that you asked that because yes and no. It's so several years ago, my mom found this book that I made in first grade. And it
Hmm.
was like those questions. What do you want to be when you grow up? And where do you want to live? And it was so funny because in there I said that I wanted to be my own boss. Like
Oh,
everyone else is like firefighter. And just to put this in perspective, like I do not come from an entrepreneurial family. So that wasn't like something that was even like available in my head. But on that thing, I said, I want to be my own boss and I want to live somewhere super sunny. And at the time, we were living in Florida. And also, I was my own boss. But coming out of first grade Brandi, 6-year-old Brandi, yes, she knew that this would be the journey I was on. But coming out of high school, I was the first generation to go to college in my family. So that was like a ton of pressure, which I always loved school. So it was not a big deal. And I double majored, I minored, I could have graduated early. And then I didn't major in anything that was like super useful for afterwards. Like I majored in history, international relations with a minor in African studies. So like you either go to get your master's and do like museum, you become a teacher, but then I would have had to do more schooling because I didn't do like the teacher's program, or you go to law school. And so
hmm.
out of those options, I was like, let's go to law school. And I was also that person that was like, I really like Law and Order. Law school sounds like a good idea. Let's do it.
Sure.
And so I went to law school and I was racking up a ton of student loans. Like I paid for my undergraduate. Well, I took out loans because I don't know how it works in Canada, but in the US, it's just take out loans. You'll make enough money to pay it back. Like, not a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I racked up a bunch of student loans. Then I went to law school, racked up a bunch of student loans, and I was at a point in law school where we were applying for internships. And I was the top 10% in my class, and I kept on doing these interviews. And I knew I was good at interviewing. At this point, I'd had 18 jobs. So I had mastered interviewing. And we get to one of the final rounds, and I was like, what is going on? I asked the woman. She was the first woman to enter. interviewed me and I said, "What is going on? I have been offered every single unpaid internship, but not a single paid. What am I doing wrong? What is missing?" And she looked at me, and we were living in Alabama, but this can happen anywhere you live. And she said, "Unless you know someone or you're in the good old boys club, you will not get a paid internship this year." And I was like, what the F? Because I can't be living off student loans. Like, I have to have a job.
Mhm.
Mom and dad aren't bankrolling this school. And so when I heard that, I was so frustrated. I was so angry. I was like, this is BS. What am I doing? And I was also engaged at that time. And I went to this event, and it was a Mary Kay event. And this woman's sitting up there, and I drive a pink car. I make all this money. Like, and I barely graduated from high school. And I'm like, what the F? Like, what am I doing? And so when she presented this opportunity, I was like, heck, if she can do it, I can do it. And
Mhm.
I got into that. And that was like my first real taste of entrepreneurship. And I went all in on that for 8 years. I learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes, top 1% of the company, free car, all that kind of stuff. But it also ended up in us being bankrupt.
Mm.
So it was a journey, and it was one that I had to learn from. And when I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter, I called the company and I was like, I'm out, I'm done. And that was it. And then 5 months later, my little girl was 5 months, and I had to figure it out because we were like broke as a joke. And started looking at like how to work at home as a mom, like I'm sure so many moms do. I don't want to go back. I don't want to leave her, but I still need to make money. And I found freelancing. And I was like, I know how to do social media because I was doing it for my other companies. So let me see if I can do social media for other people. And I started doing that, and it took off. And then I got into ads, and that's when my business really took off. And then you add all the things, and 2 years later, we have a $1 million a year business. And it's just been such a journey, and my life looks so different than it did even 5 years ago when I
Mhm.
started this. But I'm 34. I just turned 34 last week. And I'm like, holy crap, I feel like I've lived like 10 lives in 34 years. But I think ever since I was little, I just had this spirit for the entrepreneur and being my own boss and just paving my own way, even if that was so opposite from what everyone else was doing.
I love that so much. And something that I heard you say was when you saw the woman with the pink car and making all the money, your attitude or your mindset was, if she can do it, I can do it. And I think that there's two schools of people out there that they have that mindset of, if she can do it, I can do it. Or the reverse is, she's doing it, it's already done, I'm not going to be able to do that. What do you think has helped contribute to you having this mindset of, fuck yeah, if she's going to be able to do it, I'm going to be able to do it, and not sit in your own pity party of, it's already been done, it's not going to work for me?
Yeah, I think it just comes to I've had to be scrappy my entire life, it feels until recently. In growing up, it wasn't that my family was super well off. We come from a lower middle class family. I've always had to have a job. If there was something I wanted, if there was a trip that my friends were going on, if there was clothes that I wanted to buy, it wasn't that I could just have that. It was like, how can I get scrappy and make this work? And I think that scrappy mentality's always been with me. Even when we grow this $1 million business a year, I had my baby 17 months ago, and that was our worst year in business in 4 years.
Mm.
And a lot of people would be like, I had the baby. This is just what it's supposed to be. And I was looking down at that little baby, and I was like, oh, hell no. This is not how it's going to be. And I got scrappy. I came up with a new high ticket consulting offer that fit my schedule. And it's always been like, we'll figure out a way to make it work. There is no turning back. Like, we'll figure out a way to make it work because I've always had to do that. And I think that when you come from that mentality of there's always a way it will work, you just have to figure it out. And maybe you go through 10 different ways. Like I had to go through 8 years of direct sales to figure out, like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. And maybe in 10 years, this isn't what I'm meant to be doing, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I feel like very similar background in that we had a roof over our head and we were fed food, but There was not
Oh,
extra. And so everything I ever wanted, I got a paper route when I was 10. I babysat as soon as I could have a job that paid me a paycheck, sign me up. And then same thing, I came out of university with over $80,000 of debt. So it's been like my adult life has been paying off this school that I'm not directly using, but indirectly I am. Like there's lots to run a company. I know that my education has taught me some things. So I think there's the people like you and I that like, yeah, we know that you've got to be scrappy and gritty. And maybe it's not that you have to be, but we know that it will get us to the next level. And I think there's a lot of people that sit around and want it to be easy or think it will be easy because where you and I are at now or where other people are at now, they look at that and they think what you're doing looks easy. And it's, yeah, but you did not see the 8 years, the 10 years, the behind the scenes, the failures, all those sorts of things. So for everybody who's listening, our audience is a lot of women who want to either exit their 9 to 5 / corporate job that they don't love anymore, or they have started a business, but it's not where they want it to be yet. And so I always want to keep this really real for everybody and show people that you and I are just like them. So for everyone listening, what would you say has been like the biggest hurdle that you've had to overcome in your years of building the ads business? Because this is your business that is successful. And what did you do to overcome that?
yeah. So I think with my biggest challenge with ads, running ads for people, that's such a small part of my business now. Now I consult, I teach people how to do it for others. But in the doing of, hey, freelancing here, I think the biggest thing was not tying my worth
Mm,
to other people's results. There is so many things that are outside of our control. And so running ads, you get blamed for a lot of stuff. Even if it's not your fault, you just get blamed for it because you're the ad person.
yeah.
And but it also means you get rewarded for a lot of stuff, even if the ads didn't really do that much. And so it's a double-edged sword. But with that is learning how that I can only control what I do. I
Mhm.
can take responsibility for if I mess up, but people's results are not a reflection of my worth. And
Mhm.
I think overcoming that let me take on better clients. It let me take on clients that knew the value of advertising. It helped me up level who I was working with. Now, in the last 5, 6 years of having a business, I would say the biggest challenge for me was not starting a business with a 5 month old. It was having a baby while you already have a successful business. I feel like having a business with a 5-year-old, like starting one, a 5 month old, was way easier than
Mhm.
having a successful business and having a baby in the middle of that. Having him breastfeeding, traveling, running the business, showing up, being tired, and still trying to maintain a certain level of just like income and everything. Because when I started my business, my husband still had a job, and now I'm the primary breadwinner. And that was definitely those 6 months. That was definitely the hardest part I've experienced in my business. And I don't think enough people talk about. For some reason, I just had this like image that, oh, it's gonna be easy, like no big deal, like it's gonna be
Feet
a
on the
breeze.
wall, it'll be okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be beautiful. And it was not. It was hard. And it's not just the fact that you have a baby, it's the fact that you have all these hormones that are like all over the place and you're not sleeping and you still have to be like sharp and show up for people. And so I definitely think that it's not so much if you're just getting started with a business. I think it's actually probably easier to get started with a business with a baby than run an already successful business with a baby.
Because clients already have an expectation of like who you are, what your company delivers. And so if there's any starting to drop on that, I could imagine that, yeah, it then feeds into, am I doing enough? Is the business still good enough? Blah, 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 all the self-talk that would start to come in with that. When you think about, because you shared that now you're not so much like doing the ads, you consult and you run this agency. Can you talk a little bit about that shift of being the doer, and being in the business versus growing this business and growing this agency? What has that journey been like? And tell us about your business. What do you do? What does your team do? All of that.
Yeah. So just to clarify, I don't have an agency. I am actually like, I'm not against agency, but like part of our messaging is we break the bro agency model because I'm a true believer that like, if you're a freelancer and you want to get to even 250,000 a year, you don't need a team to support you and you can still work less than 20 hours a week. It's fantastic. But if you have a few people in your team, that's fine. For me, growing the one-on-one services, I've always been able, even as my course side of my business has grown, my coaching side, that side has grown and propelled us to over 1 million. My one-on-one services have always done multiple six figures without anyone on my team. And
Mm,
even running a $1.2 million a year business, it's me and my executive assistant. That's it. That's it. And we keep things so simple. And so what that journey has looked is really saying no to a lot of stuff that other people will say yes to. The fact that I'm even on this podcast right now is like a big deal because normally when we get invited to podcasts, it's just a no
mhm,
because it doesn't usually align with my schedule, what I want my days to look like. I'm also a homeschooling mom.
mm,
So my calendar is so sacred. And so mastering your calendar will help you master your money. Because if you can keep that calendar clear without a ton of Zoom calls or anything like that, you have more time to focus on the stuff that actually makes you money. And so I think that's the big thing is you got to master your calendar. You have to stop saying yes to every opportunity that comes your way and have filters on that. So like for me, I don't even see half the opportunities that come my way because we have filters. Because I
mm.
like to say yes to stuff. I suffer from FOMO, but we
Yeah.
have filters. My EA knows unless it's like very specific, it doesn't even make it to me. It's just an automatic no. And so that way I don't have FOMO because I don't even know what's coming across. I think the second thing is I'm not big on having a team, but I do think having someone to support you in your inbox,
Mhm.
maybe with your calendar. If you're not good at keeping your calendar, having someone else keep your calendar, so like an EA, and having someone, if you're dealing with payments, having someone else control that. So with our coaching side, our course side, one of the best things I could have released was knowing like failed payments and asking for refunds and stuff like that. It doesn't even come across my desk because we have like our terms and policies, we stick to them because we're a business, not a hobby. But
Yeah.
also, failed payments happen, but I don't want to know about them. I don't want to know. Like, just collect it. And at the end of the month, I get a report that shows like how many failed payments we had, how much we collected of those, and any that's like still missing. And it's okay. Great. Got it. If something comes out of balance, then yes, I'm like stepping in then. But one of the best things I could have done was like let someone else handle like failed payments, customer support, all of that. So I can just show up and be my best version for everyone and not in this energetic negative pull that most of our inboxes are of people asking things from us, failed payments, like everything. I feel like the inbox, whenever I'm in the inbox, there's like very rarely anything good in there. It's like you're going to your mailbox, it's just junk. And
Yeah.
that's not always the case. We do get a lot of love in our inbox, but most people know if they're going to give me love, it's in our Facebook group or in my Instagram. But we do get love in the inbox, so it's not all bad. But it's like going to your mailbox. Very rarely is there anything ever good in there.
It's so true, or like of value or importance. I know we've had a small but mighty team from early on. Our very first coach drilled it into us. Hire before you're ready, hire before you're ready, because you'll most likely never feel like the cash flow is there to hand something off, or what do I delegate and how much do I delegate? And it's, yeah, what I know with us, there's Kayla and I, so everything is 50-50 first with us. And then we look at what are our zones of genius and what can we do to truly stay in there, because that will light us up. And then all the other parts of business that still have to get done, what can we delegate and do that in a small but mighty team. So having a VA, having podcast editing help. accountants, bookkeepers, that sort of thing, so we can stay in our zone of genius. What do you feel is your zone of genius? Like what lights you up in your business?
Yeah, so that's definitely coaching, like getting on our coaching calls. That's always going to be my biggest thing. I do with our one-on-one strategist society members. They have Voxer access to me. That's where I love to spend my time. And then in live trainings, like I love to show up and add value, train, and just be connecting with people in that sense. So anything that I'm getting energy back and the energy is flowing between us, that's my favorite things to do in business. Now, I also love funnels and ads and all that, but that's an area I get sucked into because that's the safe zone. But like truly lights me up is when I'm like connecting with other people.
Yeah, so good. Okay, so talk to us a bit about ads. What do you know about ads that maybe not everybody knows about ads? Or I shared with you, and Kayla and I have been very public about this, that we had an absolute horror story situation with ads in the fall, and it was like $10,000 down the drain in like
Yeah.
really 2 weeks. And it really left a sour taste in our mouth. And then we met you, and we've been telling so many people about you since we left New York of like, oh, we know somebody who's in integrity. She actually enjoys this side of business. She helps people do this and they can be successful and they can work for you. So talk to us a bit about ads and the type of ads you work with and why you think they're beneficial and what people need to know, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that people think ads are for is for like fixing their business. And they're like, "Oh, I have this problem. Maybe if I throw some money on it with ads, like it'll just fix." And ads don't work that way. So I always think about it, it's that cartoon. I was never big into animated cartoons, but for some reason I always have this one stuck in my head of the little boy who's like holding the gasoline and it's on pouring on the fire. And it's that image that I always think of with ads because you can pour gasoline all day long on just logs and nothing's gonna happen. Like nothing will happen. But if you have a like spark, you don't need a big fire, you just have a spark and you put gasoline on it, you're going to get a bigger fire. And it's going to ignite that fire and it's going to make it stronger and bigger. That's what ads do. If you have a dud offer, it's never sold before, your funnel sucks, there's a bunch of holes in it, you are pouring gasoline on logs that
Mm,
have no spark behind them. But if you have an offer, you have something that's sold, a funnel that works, and it's working organically, and then you put ad dollars on it, it's going to ignite it. It's going
mm,
to make it bigger. You're going to get more traffic. You're going to find out what's working, what's not. And so the first thing a lot of people do is they think ads are just going to fix something that's broken, and that's not how it works. That it adds fire to something that's already working. And so the first question you have to ask, is this a proven offer? Is it working? Is it selling organically? If it is, great, let's do some ad dollars. The second thing is if you've never ran ads before, your first month is really about testing. I always tell my ad managers, tell your clients, set the expectations. Your first month is for testing, your second month is for optimizing, your third month is for scaling. Does it always work perfectly in that 3 month? No. Sometimes it takes longer to test, sometimes it's shorter. But you don't give it enough time. You have to give it time. We have to be able to find your audience. We have to find what creative works if you've never ran ads before. Now, if you have, then it's about doing an audit, finding out what has worked in the past, reusing that. And then I think the third thing is being patient. People expect, I'm going to make $1 million. And it's no, maybe, but no, unless you have a lot of money to spend, probably not. And we use calculators with the ad managers. We tell them, take this calculator to your client, put in their goals, put in their numbers, and show them the actual math. So
mm,
much of ads is just math.
right.
And we don't like to look at numbers. And the numbers, someone came to one of my ad managers the other day and she was like, I'm working with a coach and I want to have $1 million launch. And I was like, oh, awesome. What did you tell her? Like, how big is her following? How many email subscribers? What's been her biggest launch? Brand new offer, never launched before, never ran ads before. email list of 10,000 people and her budget was $10,000. Okay, that's unrealistic. That's unrealistic. So I was like, in this moment, take her the calculator, show her. And it showed her based on standard numbers. And because we didn't have any data, she would need to spend $500,000. And she was like, that's crazy. But you want $1 million launch. So actually putting 500,000 in and getting 1 million back, that's great. I would do that all day if you have the cash flow. And
Right.
so sometimes we need to reset our expectations for ads. So going into it, you have to have an offer that works. You have to be patient and you have to set proper expectations. They're not magic. They're a tool that you use in your business to get you somewhere faster because there's two ways you can grow a business, slow or fast.
Right.
And slow is time. So you are using your time. So if you want to do everything organically, fine, that's great. You're spending your time. If you want to go fast, you can pay to play and run ads. And I
Mm.
think there's a world where we have both. I don't just rely on ads. I don't just rely on organic. I have both.
Mm. I love this whole idea of like it's not right or wrong. It's really just what you want and what you can afford. At what point, so yes, having a proven concept and an email list and a funnel and offer that works. At what point do you see most businesses start to dip their toes in ads? Is it at a certain dollar amount, at a certain amount of years in their business? Like where the majority of people that you've come across, like where are they at in their business when they're like, okay, I think this might be a good thing to try out?
It's so different because you have this group of people in the online space that's, I've done this all organically. I deserve a gold star. I didn't cheat and use ads. And I've had those clients and I'm like, it's not cheating. Like, no one is, you are not robbing anyone if you use ads.
Right.
But you have those people who are like, they're carrying this badge of honor and they're like, yes. And then you have the people on the other side who are like, yes, I have $1 million business, but they've spent like 950,000 on ads. And it's okay, you're not profitable. And so you have to find it's different for everyone. It's not based on time or anything. Like for me, when I was getting started with my course side of my business, my membership, all that kind of stuff, I didn't have a big audience. I had 300 people on my email list. I had less than 400 people on Instagram. So I didn't have that, but also I didn't have the time to devote to those things. So I chose to pay. And with that, I had a budget that I was willing to spend to see what would happen. So if you don't have the proven offer or anything like that, like you have to at least have the budget. And I did run a beta. So I did have 20 people in. So it was a proven offer. Like I did a beta. But then I went to do my launch and I was like, I only have $2,000 to spend. And we spent the 2,000 and I had a $50,000 launch. And but that doesn't always happen. I've also had offers that I'm like, okay, let's throw it out, see what happens. Spent 5,000 and found out that it wasn't a good offer. And
Right.
so I had to go back to the drawing board. So I think that you do have this option of if you have the cash flow. I never want anyone's business to think that just because they spend money on ads, they're going to get a return. That's like best case scenario. But if you don't have the proven offer yet, I always ask my clients, how much money are you willing to spend for numbers, for data? And for some people that may be 2,000, for some people it may be 20,000. It really depends. So I don't think there's a time in your business. It's do I have the cash flow to make this happen?
And do you think I'm hearing all this and I'm like, I feel like that meme of the woman with all the like chemistry above her head because
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like where are we at in our business? We're 4.5 years in and we haven't done ads yet. And it's just been a cash flow thing for us. And like it feels scary to say, okay, let's take this amount of money and try it and see what happens. And I know no pain, no gain sort of thing. Do you think that I'm asking you such specific questions and it's really like for my own business and then hopefully this benefits everybody. Do you think that there's a specific percentage of your income that you would count towards ads? Some people have a marketing budget and like
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Don't go over 5%, 10%, 50%.
I think it's so dependent because it also depends on some people say you shouldn't spend 30% over 30% on your team. We've never spent anywhere close to 30% on our team. But when it comes to education and mentors, I'm like, shoo, like biggest part of my budget, that's where I spend it because that's where I see the biggest return. And
Right.
then it's ads. So, with that being said, I think the thing to think about is, do I have something that I could sell that's a quick sell? Like if you just want to dip your toe in it, do I have something that's like low ticket that I could sell and maybe make my money back? An example of this is an SLO funnel, self-liquidating offer. Some people call it tiny offers, whatever you want to call it, pocket products. I've seen all different things. But ultimately, they're SLOs, self-liquidating offer. The whole point of a self-liquidating offer is to break even on your ad spend. But
Mm.
then you're building a list of buyers. Let's say that you have a $37 product. If you can run that and just break even on it, you're doing well because you're building a list of buyers instead of just a bunch of freebie seekers if you're using it for lead generation. Because you never know if those leads are going to turn into buyers.
Yeah.
Or if you have like an evergreen webinar funnel or something like that where the purchase is happening within 7 days. I think those are the best things to run ads to, is something where within 7 days you would have a purchase if it was working.
Hmm. Okay, this is so insightful and so helpful. I'm curious to know you've got young kids at home, you just had this big move. Are you already a decade into entrepreneurship? More than that?
I guess with direct sales, Mary Kay, I started that when I was 21, 22, something like 21 or 22. No, it must be 22. I was 22. And so I'm 34. So if we count that, but online business, I started when I was 28, 27, something like that.
Okay, so like you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah, I'm in it.
What's the, I don't know how far out you like to dream. Like I know some people are like 5, 10 years. I know for myself, I can like never see past like a year and a half. What's the long-term vision? What do you see is coming next for you?
Oh my gosh, I'm the same way. I'm like looking maybe 6 months down the road.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because if you know anything about human design, I'm a projector. So I see the big picture. But for me, the big picture is like, how many memories can I create in the next 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years? It's not really about financial or what is my business going to look like or anything like that. It's like, how can I create an amazing business that fits with all the things that I want out of life and supports me creating more memories, whether that's like going to Italy or we are big Disney fans. Like, how many times can we get to Disney this year? Or just buying this beautiful home that fits our family now. And I'm always looking like, how can I create a business that's helping other women also do those things, creating their own definition of success while it's allowing me to create as many memories as possible.
Oh, I love that. How many memories can I create? That's so good.
Yep.
Okay. And tell us about, you just said in human design, you're a projector. Do you know your numbers? Are you what
Yeah,
you're?
I'm a 4-1.
Oh, okay. So the mayor is 4. I know 4 because that's part of mine. What's 1?
Oh gosh. I
I
don't remember. The numbers is where I start to get a little lost.
Okay. I know I'm a generator, 2, 4. And so the generator side of me, obviously I'm like an energizer bunny. If I don't schedule time to rest and just hit that wall and crash eventually. But the 2, 4 side of me is so interesting because the two's the hermit. So like
Mhm.
really needing to go inwards on my own, be introspective, which I love. And then the 4 side is like coming on out and like the mayor, hello everybody, let's network and connect. And I so see how those two sides are so different, yet I feel them both so deeply within myself. I love
Yeah.
humor.
I really like it too. We have done it for our entire family. So it's funny because my entire family is generators. When my son was born, we were literally in the operating room And my husband's sitting there and he already had my body graph pulled up. And I was like, what is he? As soon as we heard the time, I was like, what is he? Crossing my fingers for not a generator. And we got another generator. And I was like, oh my gosh, you people exhaust me, exhaust me. And so we have learning this as a projector. I'm big on seeing the most efficient way to do things. And
Mhm.
as a generator, y'all tend to like bounce around.
Yeah.
And so I get so frustrated. And for a long time, I would nag my husband, there's a better way to do this. There's a quicker way. And after we found out about human design, it's changed our marriage
Mhm.
because now also we have mom breaks. Because as a projector, I need to go and I'm good for 4 hours and then I'm done. Like I can't do the whole day thing. And so now we have mom break. And so whenever I'm feeling like there's too much generator energy, I'm like, mom break. And I like disappear for an hour to like just rest.
Oh, that's so good that your husband is like supportive in that way and on board and gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
good.
And our
Okay.
house is so noisy because generators, y'all make a lot of noise. And I work in like dead silence. And then I go in there, I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone's making noise.
Yes. Yeah, it's so true. I wish I had have known about human design earlier in my life so that it would make more sense to me of why I am the way I am. And
Yeah.
this pull and desire to always be responding and creating. I'm
Yeah.
like, there's something, I'm like, I can do that. I can create that. I can make that. I can sell that. I'm like, my brain is always on. Kayla's a manifesting generator, but we think she's misdiagnosed in the stars or something because she's not constantly wanting or needing to create. And she's always, okay, let's hone it in and make a system, slow it down a bit. So I could fly off into outer space.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brandi, tell us about what's for sale. Where can people hear from you? I know you've got a podcast. Tell us all the things. Where can people find out about you, work with you, share your work, all that great stuff?
Yeah, so Instagram is a great place to connect with me personally. It's like the only place where you like your first touch point is me because I am the one in my DMs. I always say that I feel like it's so weird when people have other people that respond to their DMs because that feels like your underwear drawer to me. Like no one's going in that drawer, no
Yeah.
one's in my DMs. It's me. Like you are getting me. So that's a great place to connect. And that's just at my name, Brandi Mowles. And then we have a podcast that drops every single Tuesday, the Serve Scale Soar podcast. We've been doing that for, gosh, 4 or 5 years now. So we're very consistent there. And then to work with me, there's 4 options. One is through our program, Conversions for Clients. So if you want to learn how to run ads yourself, or you want to run ads for clients, that's going to be the place to go. And that's just conversionsforclients.com. And then we have different levels, but then strategist societies, like if you're a freelancer, one-on-one service provider, and you really want to up level into that consultant role, step into the next level of charging 8,000 just for a few calls. That's where we hang out is there. And then if you're a 7, 8 figure business owner listening to this, and you want more strategic marketing and funnels and ad support, that would be my consulting package. So just reach out to me on Instagram.
Okay, I love this. I'm so happy that this was a yes in your list of no's. And I totally understand our DMs or our email is always, hey, can I be a guest on your podcast? And it's a copy pasted message. Absolutely
Oh,
not.
yeah.
I always share that I'm really picky about who I want to have on the podcast. So I'm so grateful that you said yes, because I want these conversations to bring value to people. And what you just shared in the last 45 minutes or however long it's been has brought so much value. So thank you. And I'll make sure for everybody listening that we link everything that you shared, have people check out your podcast and the different ways that they can work with you. And yeah, it's just been a really great convo. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks everybody. We'll be back next week.
Find out the fastest way to grow your business without sacrificing more time or adding more one-on-one clients now. Go to myalignedpurpose.com/quiz and get your results.